What's the first sign that a movie is going to be bad? They start throwing out buzzwords unironically. As someone who loves progressive themes in movies, the second someone tosses out something like toxic masculinity, I know it's not gonna be good. The primary rule in storytelling is show don't tell, and a lot of movies that want to be progressive and make people think don't think their audience is smart enough to figure out stuff like symbolism and nuance and basic storytelling, so they're gonna smack you over the head with just how progressive they are. A good example of this is comparing the original Black Christmas from the 70s to the most recent remake, ignoring the one with all the eyeballs. The original one was a feminist movie, with complex female characters who aren't dying with their tits out. The protagonist has an abortion and is not painted as a bad person for it. All the women in the movie are different, and are allowed to be smart, rude, and imperfect. It's feminist because at the time, this was much rarer in movies, especially the abortion part. Meanwhile, the most recent version of Black Christmas is trying really hard to be feminist, including a character who is a walking Instagram infographic, and while I appreciate the themes they were trying to explore, they spell it all out in the dialogue and don't let the visuals and the symbolism speak for themselves. You can absolutely have great movies with progressive themes, you just have to rest it like any other movie and focus on the storytelling, not proving to the audience that you're up on all the feminist terms. TLDR, if a movie wants to explore themes like gender, race, sexuality, etc., and just starts throwing out buzzwords, the movie is gonna be ass because they don't listen to show don't tell and focus on making a good movie. Literally the reason I dropped Hunter x Hunter. It kept freezing in the middle of a major fight scene for an invisible narrator to say random stuff like the minute they did that, they realized they fucked up every time someone did something. Completely ruined it for me in what everyone said was the best season. It's an adaptation and the director or the studio already discusses the changes he made, which makes it clear they don't understand the audience. Percy Jackson - we aged the characters and added in romance. Golden Compass - take out the religious controversy to appeal to the American audience. And other stuff they'll blab like we wanted to make it more inclusive and did this. Read, I didn't focus on the main story plot because it was more important to include my agenda in. And I hope you take note of it. This. I hate movies where the writers/producers make it clear they wanted to put their unique take on the source material. That is usually code for I didn't like the original and wanted to make my own movie, but had to use the original name/source to get funding. Still don't get why they aged the characters in Percy Jackson. Could have been such a great series of movies on par with Harry Potter. Had to go and screw it all up. Golden Compass - take out the religious controversy to appeal to the American audience. This probably backfired because the people who had issues with the controversial religious aspects of the books probably didn't know that the religious stuff was going to be absent from the movies. And fans of the book series were probably pissed because they knew that it wasn't a faithful adaptation. It was mind-boggling how much they messed up A Wrinkle in Time and clearly didn't understand the themes of the book. Like at all. I almost turned it off at the flying lettuce but decided to give it a shot, but when they turned a dystopian/lifeless drab city into a raging beach party, I just couldn't take it anymore. Yeah, like Artemis Fowl. The best thing about that series was how the main character was this criminal mastermind and was a smug little git about it. In the movie they take away all those traits apparently. Such a strange decision. Like, why even bother if you're going to exorcise the main draw of those books? Golden Compass - take out the religious controversy to appeal to the American audience. Are you talking about the decent BBC series? I'm not aware of one with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. It's been in production for too long. There's always a reason. For a recent example, Chaos Walking. It changed screenwriter, director, and production company so many times over 10 years but was sold on it been a Charlie Kaufman movie starring Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland. Kaufman left in 2013, Ridley and Holland filmed it over years due to so many reshoots and failed screenings. Then Lionsgate said the negative reviews were shocking to them. Really? Indiana Jones 5 ain't looking good on this front. Apparently it's been test screened many times stretching back over a period and they keep reshooting. I agree. I'm very progressive but hate how blatantly progressive buzzwords are forced into movies at TV shows. Show me through the story how amazing these people are and what they've experienced. Don't just throw in a random social media soundbite that adds nothing to the story as if you're checking off a checklist. Way to alienate some of your audience when they need subtlety to appreciate the characters. Apple is doing this more and it's making their films and shows blend together. Not always the case, but when there are more than 3 writers a movie tends to lack vision. It can also occur due to rewrites. Not a Bomb podcast reviews movies that bombed financially or critically, and this is a subject often discussed if anyone is interested. It's the other way around too. When they try to criticize people being woke or kids being addicted to social media, they have the characters be completely over the top. I think the new Chainsaw Massacre movie is the one where Leatherface gets into a bus with influencers and they react to the murderous guy with a chainsaw by saying they'll have him cancelled on Instagram or something. I get it, you think Gen Z is lame. By the way, you know you're pandering to the Gen Z audience, right movie? You can also tell when there's a stinger line that was clearly added in hopes that people would share it on social media. You can absolutely have great movies with progressive themes, you just have to rest it like any other movie and focus on the storytelling, not proving to the audience that you're up on all the feminist terms. Which seems kind of unprogressive, by more or less talking down to the audience. Narration. God, that made me sound like CinemaSins. To be clear, not all forms of narration in film are bad. But there's a very specific subtype that always makes me cringe. If the narrator is a separate character altogether who never appears in the film proper, and their narrating style is incredibly self-indulgent to the story itself. And so the hero did X, little knowing of the role they had to play in events. Anytime I hear a line to that effect, I tune out. It just sounds like a little kid's writing and pulls me right out of the experience. Edit. Most of the examples people have offered in counterargument aren't really what I'm talking about. Fight Club, for instance, the narrator has tons of personality. The only example I saw that really describes this phenomenon is Lord of the Rings. As much as I love those movies to death, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Even so, Lord of the Rings is one instance where I don't mind it much. The movie is so good otherwise that it doesn't really bring it down. When making a movie from an existing book, this sometimes becomes necessary. The depth of the author's words don't always translate well to the visual, and working it into the dialogue can be wonky. Third-party narration can become a needed device for the story. The trick is to do a good job of it. It is done poorly sometimes, but it can also be done well. So you're probably wondering how I got here. Fade to black. 3 weeks earlier. But they were all of them deceived, for another ring was made. Are you counting stage setting exposition / monologue? Cause I kinda love both Galadriel's intro, and Princess Irulan's in Dune, 1984.